Welcome back to RIA Q&A. This question came actually from a group that I was a part of a while back. Turns out they didn't like me in there, so I had to figure out a different way to do it. Anyways, so this question was basically, how can I make sure that the people that I'm targeting using Facebook ads are actually the people that are seeing my ads? Here's the thing. Facebook ads is one of those interesting advertising platforms that it works really well for some people and works really terribly for other people. And after the scandal that actually they were overstating their view rates on their videos, it's really blown up from there. And so it's really hard to trust that what they're doing or what they say they're doing, the clicks that you think that you're getting are actually coming through as clicks. And I've dealt with that, and it's made me change the way that I allocate funds to Facebook ads and retargeting ads on Facebook, because sometimes I'll have a Google Analytics thing set up, I have a landing page thing set up, and I'll track the clicks, and the clicks don't match up. Like Facebook say I'm getting 10 clicks, Google Analytics or the landing page thing will say I'm getting 6. And I'm like, okay, whoa, I need to spend less money here, because if I can't trust what I'm getting, then why am I going to allocate more money to this advertising platform? So that's the first thing. That's kind of tough. But if you figure out that your targeting is off, you have to make sure that you whittle it down. Now, they won't let you go. I mean, they give you the little meter, where something's too broad, something's just right, or something's too narrow. You want to make sure it's narrow enough so it's not too broad, but you also don't want that many people to see it. So usually I try to get as close to that too narrow line as humanly possible. So if it's at 300 people are going to see this, and that's too narrow, I do it at 500 and see if that will kick off. And sometimes it won't, and sometimes it will. So that's really my advice to making sure that your targeting is correct. You don't want it to be in a situation where you are targeting some people and actually other people are getting in front of that. So you need to make sure you uncheck the expand audience feature, because that's a checkbox to kind of hide it in there. And what that means is that if there aren't enough people hitting your ads, they will expand your targeting so that people who you don't want to click your ads will start clicking them. They make more money that way. You spend more money that way. And so unless your ad is amazing, your CPCs or your CPMs are going to go through the roof, the cost of those. Just make sure that you know what you're clicking into. Also, make sure that you're excluding the right factors. If I'm posting this and I want people who are financial advisors to see it, I need to make sure that I exclude anyone who may be an associate financial advisor, who may be a financial assistant, who may be a real estate agent, because sometimes it'll expand in a way that you don't plan for it. And so you need to make sure that you really, really narrow down that target market. And that's where having a niche is really important, because if you don't know who you're targeting and you're just kind of scattershotting it, you will have a very low relevancy score. And when you have a low relevancy score, your Facebook ads costs go up. So you need to have a high relevancy score or relevant score. I can't remember what it's actually called. So making sure that you have a target market and that you create content for that target market. So what you're really doing is you're saying, hey, target market, I created content just for you. Please come check this out. And that is how you create a really good Facebook advertising targeting mechanism, because otherwise you will have people clicking in there that aren't supposed to be clicking in there. And that's a tough thing as well. Just as a note, some of it isn't as accurate. Facebook pulls in things that comes from other third-party resources, and those aren't necessarily accurate. So if I were to target people who have over $1 million and $100,000 in income with a master's degree, sometimes I look through my clicks and I'm like, that person does not have a master's degree, or that person does not make $1 million. So you have to also take it with a grain of salt. So my favorite way is to do it by job titles that are in Facebook, because they self-select that. Age range, potentially gender, but I don't like gender. You want to do English if you're in an English-speaking country, and go for the countries that you're actually in. So that's really important. And then after that, you want to make sure that your interests are cross-aligned. You don't want interests that are parallel to each other. So you don't want someone who is interested in rock climbing and then someone who's interested in technology. Your thing will go everywhere. So you need to make sure that everything that you do is across. So maybe rock climbing and camping. That way those cross section, because you don't want it to get too wide. So those are the tips that I have. It goes way deeper than that. I've spent probably a little over 100 hours learning about Facebook ads. There are people out there who spend 1,000, 5,000 articles or 5,000 hours learning about Facebook ads. They're way better than that, than I am. And so a lot of things that I've done, I've read, I've studied, I've taken courses on, but I've also implemented and worked on it myself and kind of learned through failure and learned through success. So that's what I would encourage you to do. Spend the time or hire out. And I'll get to that in the next Q&A about whether or not you should outsource or whether or not you should learn something, because it's really a function of time and how much you value your time. So thank you so much for listening. Subscribe below. There are lots of other videos out there that we have that are specifically for RIA owners, because we've heard a lot of questions and we documented a lot of questions. And so we want to make sure that we are able to send out answers that are easily findable and that you can consume them in 3 to 5 minutes. So thank you so much.